What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about how opening a HELOC impacts your personal credit score. You should always be cognizant of how the different things you do impact your personal credit score because your credit score is so important when it comes to lending, more especially when you start to get in more creative finance strategies. That good credit score just goes a long way. So that's a great question that you guys have been hitting me with. But if you're new here, we talk all about HELOCs, creative finance, real estate investing, anything related in general. But today, to answer the question of does opening a HELOC impact your credit score, the answer is kind of. All right. So to talk about the impacts of a HELOC to your credit score, we're going to kind of use the rough framework of the credit card. This is very similar to a credit card or other credit lines that you may be familiar with. However, there are a few exceptions as well, so we can't just use generalities. I'm going to walk you guys through all of that right now. All right, so the first way that opening a HELOC does impact your credit score is this is a hard credit pool. So just like if you were going to go buy a car and obtain financing or open any other credit line, the lender typically does a hard credit pool to get your credit score, and the credit monitoring bureaus actually monitor how many times or inquiries you get on that score, and that's called a hard pool. Now, this is typically very minor unless you have tons of these out there for a sustained duration. Typically, this is in the 10 to 15 point range and something that will likely fall off in less than 6 months, but it does have a small impact. So you should expect your score to fall slightly after this hard pull if you're reaching out to lenders. But also a note, if you're just kind of gauging your interest on the HELOC, make sure your lender understands that you do not want a hard pull until you're ready to move forward or evaluate a couple different lenders. So the second way that a HELOC impacts your credit score is when you actually go to use it. So you actually transfer that balance either into your account or to go purchase a property, and now you have to start making timely monthly payments on the balance that you withdrew, whether those are interest-only payments or principal and interest payments. Either way, whatever payment you're obligated to make, if you make that on a timely basis, that does get reported out to the credit bureaus, and if you do not, that gets reported as well. So this can actually improve or be a boost to your credit score if you make your on-time monthly payments. Like I would always recommend, if you're not going to make those payments, please stop now and do not move forward with the HELOC. We're huge advocates here of the HELOC only when used responsibly. So with that said, if you decide to use your HELOC balance and you do not make these payments, this will drastically negatively impact your credit score. So do not do this. So don't go out and think that this doesn't have any impact on your credit score. This will ruin you if you go out and do this. Trust me, do not make that mistake. All right, and a big misconception about HELOCs and the credit score is a factor called credit utilization. All right, so according to Experian, home equity lines of credit are not considered in their calculation when coming up with credit utilization. So don't be concerned if you open up a $200,000 balance and you don't use it and you think that might factor into your overall credit utilization. It does not. So that's not a factor. And vice versa, if you open up that 200K line and you use it, that actually won't factor in as well. So that's a big concern I know a lot of you guys have asked me about. But according to Experian, in the FICO calculation, which is the most widely used version of the credit score, that is not a consideration. But one new thing that these credit bureaus are checking is they're auditing YouTube videos to make sure the viewers are hitting that like button and subscribing if they haven't done so already. So make sure you don't get hit on that audit, and do me a favor and hit that like button. That's a free way to support the channel. But guys, in general, if you guys are opening HELOCs, using them responsibly, making those timely payments, this really doesn't have much of a factor on your credit score in general. So for me, it's a no factor. I don't even consider those quick negative impacts on the credit pool. I always make sure I pay them on time to make sure that there's no impact. And just the benefit in general of having open lines of credit outweigh any cons in my opinion. But another factor you want to consider when opening HELOCs is your debt to income ratio. Now, once you go and use the balance on your HELOC, that will become a factor into your debt to income ratio, which will only really impact you if you're going to get additional financing. They will run an additional credit check then and see that you do owe payments. And debt to income ratio is really just a factor of your monthly income as a ratio to your monthly outflow, or the payments that you're required to make on a monthly basis. And if you follow our plan, you're actually paying your HELOC back in roughly 12 months, or a maximum of 12 months. So this is just a short-term impact to your debt to income. Once you pay that off, that's no longer a debt, so it's no longer a factor in that. Another quick note on debt to income: if you're purchasing a rental property, usually the income from that rental property offsets any debt associated, because that's additional income coming in as well. But talk to your lender. This is a great reason why it's so important to have a good relationship with your lender, so you can walk through these scenarios and talk about how this will impact your personal situation. But if you guys have other questions, check out these videos over here for more info on the HELOC. But with that, guys, we'll wrap. I'm Tyler Wehrung, and we'll catch you next time.